Welcome to Mom is My Emergency Contact podcast, the podcast for single moms figuring out how the fuck to navigate life, dating, and starting over. I am Lisa, your host. Today, we're going to be talking about something that a lot of women feel, but not a lot of women talk about openly: the mother wound. That complicated space between love, expectation, culture, and identity that can exist between mothers and daughters, especially for Latina women. That relationship carries many layers: family loyalty, cultural traditions, unspoken rules, sacrifice, and sometimes the pressure to be the good daughter. But what happens when love and pain exist in the same relationship? What happens when you're trying to honor your mother while also healing parts of yourself? So today I'm joined by a woman who's willing to talk honestly about the mother wound, because conversations like this aren't about blaming our mothers. They're just about understanding ourselves. So let's get into it. Today we have Tania, Brooklyn-born Latina podcaster with a passion for entertaining, storytelling, and keeping it raw and real, blending comedy, honesty, and heart. She brings unfiltered conversations about life, growth, relationships, and everything in between. Fueled by her love for family and friends, she creates a space where authenticity meets laughter, because real life deserves real talk. Girl, welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I know this has been a long time coming. I think we spoke like a year ago, and then, life is always just
Oh
like,
my God, that's right. So
Mhm.
I reached out. We were talking a little bit. I was on my new Instagram page and I saw her stuff and I was like, oh, I want to talk to her. And then I dropped the ball. And then I reached out again. I was like, girl, remember me? And she's like, yeah. So then we're finally doing it.
We're here,
Um,
we're here.
so let's talk about that mother wound. What does that mean to you and how can you relate to it?
The mother wound. So this kind of was like something that showed up on my Instagram feed. I feel like, the cell phones and everything is always listening. And I did a little research. And as I was doing my research, I started to compare the relationship that I have with my mom. And I was like, wow. I was like, these things are very familiar. Um, and I didn't start like really diving in until like my marriage, broke up and all of these things. That my ex-husband used to tell me that I was just like brushing off, like, no, that's just how it is. Like that's just how we are, like, and try to like make excuses for, certain behaviors. So as I was doing like a deep dive, and I actually did a live podcast about this, and it's something that I have um been talking about more, because I feel like, just like you said, these things are happening within our relationships with our mothers, and we sometimes don't know. We think it's normal, we think it's regular, we think it's the culture, but that's because it's been engraved in our like DNA, that these are the things that we're supposed to do, when in reality it's not. Like, and for me it started to feel like not normal. Like, why was my mom always so critical of me? Like, it was never like it super encouraging. Like, all of these things, every time I brought an idea to her, it was just like, ay, pero tú sabes, like very judgmental. And it's just like, I didn't like the way it was making me feel.
Yeah. I can relate. Mom, don't listen. No, I mean, this is true shit. Like, this is real stuff. I mean, this happens and I think, like, let me ask you this, because I think for me, when we're kids, it's like we never think anything of it. We're just like, damn, my mom is strict, or damn, my mom's saying shit like that. I can't say certain things to her. But then when we get older, we're like, girl, you're toxic.
Yeah, toxic as fuck. Like, like not even joking, when you talk about like growing up for me, I came from a very big family. Like, on my father's side, there's 16. I have 16 aunts and uncles, and I have 12 aunts and uncles on my mother's side. So, there was always family gatherings, but I remember it being happy times, but the kids were always, seen and not heard. Right. And also this second time around of me being a parent, gentle parenting kind of kicked in. My first child, he's 21. Shout out to Justin. I love you, baby. He's 21 and we grew up together. I was 20 when I had him, and I was a single parent and there was no gentle parenting. I was very tough on him. And I've apologized like a million times to him because I'm just like, there was a lot of things that I know I didn't do right. But the gentle parenting, kind of raising my daughter up, it's kind of like, hey, she has a voice, though she's only 6 years old, she has feelings, she matters, and it's not just kind of like, oh, it's not always just like, oh, just go over there, like, vete para allá, like, like, mind your business, and those like harsh tones and words, it's just,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean, I know for me, I mean, as much as I loved my mother, and quite honestly, for me, I could say like growing up, I was really close to my mom, but I didn't fuck with her. Like you did not, I did not cross her. Like she had like
Yeah.
no qualms telling where to go, what to do, and I was just like, shit, I shouldn't say that, right?
Yeah.
So, right, and then like you said with the parenting, so that's actually interesting. So when you decided to do that gentle parenting, did you think to yourself, "I'm going to break that generational pattern"? Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, so actually it was really hard for me because I think with my daughter, I was suffering from like postpartum. I think I didn't have that with my son. So I was going through a lot and my marriage was like on the break at that time. So I was dealing with a lot of emotions. In the beginning when my daughter was born, I was very like disconnected. Like I would take very good care of her, but I was kind of just like I was feeling depressed, I'm assuming. And then, my husband at the time, he kept bringing things to my attention. He's like, hey, like, you have to, be like this and be like that. And you should do this and like that. Like, not that he was telling me what to do, but he was kind of like guiding me. And as like my daughter got older and things kind of like, sailed out to sea, I started realizing like, hey, maybe I need to just be better, like, and do better. And I don't want the relationship that I have with my mom to be that story for me and my daughter. That that was kind of it for me. I was like, okay, we have to change something, right? Because if you don't change something, it's gonna continue on.
I mean, I gotta commend you because that means you're self-aware. You're like, I don't want I don't wanna repeat it with
Right.
my daughter and navigating through that. So, let me ask you this because I've spoken to a lot of women about the mother wound, but they're not coming from a Latin background. Do
Uh,
do you think
no
the mo
shade, but
do you think the mother wound looks different for those raised by a Latin mother?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. And I think that, especially in Latin homes when there are sons and daughters, the comparison is really, you can see it, right? Because for me, and this is just my opinion, and from what I have seen, Latina moms treat their sons very differently from how they treat their daughters. And I've seen it, and this is kinda like one of the researches that I was doing, because the sons are like, they kinda like baby their sons, right? They baby the sons, "Oh, and nana," right? And then it's just like, but the girls, it's like, "Hey, you gotta wake up at fucking 5 o'clock in the morning to clean. You gotta cook. You gotta make sure," a lot of mothers also depend on their older children to help raise the younger kids. And it's just like, and that was kind of my story. I have an older sister. Shout out to my sister. I love you, boo. I have an older sister that, she's 9 years older than me and she basically raised me. She taught me about the birds and the bees. She spoke to me about my period. I mean, my mom and dad worked both two jobs. They were rarely around, and she made sure that I didn't die, So, like, and that's the kind of thing, and that's also another reason why I, like, feel so strongly, like, my son is 21 and my daughter is 6, but I don't think my son has ever watched my daughter, and I think maybe I'm just too one-sided, but I don't feel like that should be a thing, like, your older kids should not be taking care of the younger kids. They're your kids, right? Now,
Mhm.
helping here and there is not an issue, but it just shouldn't be, and then going back to your question is like, yeah, like Latina moms are tough, like
Mhm.
super tough. Like, and I think it's just the culture, you know, it's the culture.
I will say for me, I I seen that with my cousins where they were, like, the older and they were taking care of the younger kids, and for me, I mean, my brother and I are only like 2 or 3 years difference, but yeah, I walked him back to school. We're latchkey kids, my mother had the key underneath the mat. I mean,
Wow.
I think about it, like, girl, like, how young were you? Like, you were doing adult shit, and I thought to myself, now, I was in 3rd grade walking with my brother to a home with the
Right.
key underneath the mat.
Right. Like, like if you think about that, right? Hindsight is 2020, right? And it's like, oh, what the holy fuck? Like, I'm in third grade. How old were you? Maybe like what, 9, 8?
Yeah, yeah.
What? Like that?
That's crazy.
But you know what? It was kinda one of those things, like, I also feel like our parents, like, my parents were, like, always on survival mode, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Given their background, how they grew up, my mother and father grew up very poor, they grew up in Puerto Rico, and one thing I will say about them is that I am extremely proud of both of them, of how they raised us up and how they brought us to the forefront. That's one thing I'll always take with me, like, my parents were always hard workers, they always worked and they always like made sure, like I said, that we didn't die. We had, we always we had what we needed, and we did have love. We had a lot of love between us, but just very difficult relationships, especially with my mom. My dad and I are super close, like super close.
Oh, that's nice, that's nice. So let me ask you this because, you know, I I had some research on my side and I remember going through my education as a therapist because like I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't go through that because that shit just makes you question every goddamn thing. Like, damn, I do that? I do that, right? So when I went through that, I started looking at the relationship with my mother. And then I realized my mother may have some generational trauma. So, what are your thoughts about that? Well, first of all, let me ask you this. When did you start thinking? Because I know you started talking about doing that research. Do you remember at that moment where you're like, I think I need to look into this more?
It was kind of like, I would say like 5 years ago, like right when I had my daughter.
Hmm.
So one thing I would say, I think my mom is suffering from like bipolar depression, mental health, and that's kind of one of also those other things that, Latinos, they are like, let me not say all Latinos, but most Latinos, men and women, are like anti-therapy, right? Yo no soy loca, yo no soy loco, yo no necesito esto. I just need a drink. I just need to go hang out. I need to whatever it is that you do, right? They don't believe in therapy.
Mm-mm.
And when I got married and when I had my daughter, I started really noticing like my mom was like very up and down. Like one day she would be good, the next day she would be not. And then it just started getting progressively worse as she got older. My mom is 70 now. As she got older, and then, the past couple of months, I would say from like August. So in August, my dad had a stroke. He got really, really sick and my mom ended up having to go to Florida for a couple of months to take care of him. And it wasn't until she came back that like the shit really hit the fan and things just got like progressively worse. Right now, we're not even like even speaking at this moment.
Oh,
Yeah, like
oh.
not at all. Hmm.
So, was it like a fight or was it just the
So it
way?
was it was just like long to the short, I separated from my husband and then I moved in with my mom. And then it was kind of like it was fine until my dad got sick, right? We were living under the same roof. But I'm very much so like, hey, I stay to my side, you stay to your side, and we're good. But when she came back from Florida, it just got like progressively worse and the fighting and the this and the that. And then eventually, like from like Monday to Tuesday, like I packed up my shit and moved out. Like I moved out and at that time I didn't even know where I was gonna go. Like I had about from like January, like the ending of December to like January. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be out by February, but I had no clue where I was gonna go. I had no money. I had no savings. I had no prospects of where I was gonna get an apartment. And I was like, okay, I'm about to sleep on somebody's couch. Or I'm gonna sleep in the back of my car. Like it was a lot of drama. And then there was the last fight that just like it broke the camel's back and I was like, "Oh, I gotta get the fuck out of here." Like I gotta like go. And I literally and then, God is good. And things just came together and now I'm in my own space with my own things and we have not really spoken and I feel really good. I feel really good with that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you said that was not too long ago, right?
No, that was literally January, February. We're in March. So that was 2 months ago.
And I think that that's good to do. I think it's okay to, like, step away
Oh
and
yeah,
remove
sure.
yourself because you gotta do your own healing.
Right.
So, I well, let me step back, in regards to her own shit. Like, do you think that, as you got to know more about the relationship with your mother and doing some of that research, do you think that there was some of that trauma that she was literally going by from her
Yeah.
childhood?
For sure.
Okay.
So it was definitely passed down. So my grandmother and I don't know what happened before my grandmother, but my grandmother was like she was like the worst human being in the world. And I say that like wholeheartedly. She took care of her kids and she did whatever she had to do, but she was the meanest person you ever meet. Like she never hugged you, kissed you, never said I love you. She was just like stone cold,
Wow.
right? And one of the things that I always remember is that even though my grandmother was like that, my mom always tried to please her. Always try to please her, always try to make her happy. She always went above and beyond. And my grandmother was just constantly shitting on her, even to like the day that she died. My grandmother died from Alzheimer's. And my mom, she would verbally abuse my mom. Like she would curse her out and say all types of shit. Now I don't know how they mended their relationship before my grandmother died, but I do really think that at this very moment my mom is probably still tormented by her own mom, even in death, because she hasn't healed, right? She hasn't spoke about it. Every time I bring my mother up, she tries to paint her in a light, you know, like she was this great person. And I understand, like, I'm very aware that my grandmother did the best, probably the best that she thought with what she had, but it was just a toxic, like just terrible. And one memory that really stands out to me is that it was a Christmas time and my mom had went out and bought my grandmother like all these things. She had bought her some batitas and some like sandals and really cute things. And my mom was like so happy. She was like, "Oh, I'm bringing all of this to your grandmother." And when she presented her with the gift, my grandmother was like, "Y esto, y esta mierda. ¿Por qué tú no me diste dinero? Yo no quiero esto." And she really like she threw like the things back in her face. And I remember like I felt so horrible for my mom. Like I felt really sad. Like and that was just it was just bad. And yes, so going back to your question after my I digress, my rant. Um yeah, my mom is carrying a lot of trauma that she needs to deal with and I don't think she ever will. I think it's just going to be the way it is and that's why I had to remove myself from that situation because now is when I'm starting my healing. Like, this is my healing time and I'm doing it for my kids.
Yeah. God, girl, that hurt. Girl, you telling that story, that really hurt. I mean, I've seen that not necessarily with my mom, but I've seen that in my family, extended family,
Mhm.
and just that hard parenting.
It's just like it's like damn, like you just think about being a human being, right? It's so getting older is like is a blessing, but as you get older, you start seeing things in like so many different lights, and it's just like, wow, that was not okay. Like that was
Right.
not okay.
Girl, that is
Like,
exactly it. That is
yeah, like,
that
yeah,
is
like that was
exactly
not
it.
okay.
Yes, that's
No,
crazy. Yeah, that exactly. When you start thinking about shit that happened, you're like, "They shouldn't have said that. Why was I put in that situation? And I
right,
was just a kid."
right.
Oh my
Um,
god. Okay, so let's talk about your healing, and again, I gotta commend you, girl, because that is huge. Because it's not like someone came to you and said, "Girl, you know what's going on? That you need it." You manifested that, and having this self awareness and like thinking to yourself, "I need to heal through this." So, what are some of the things that you're doing to heal?
so obviously I removed myself. That was the first thing. Like I had to remove myself from the environment because I'm very big on energies and I feel like the energy is all around you. I deal with people all day long, right? And you should be able to go home and like be at peace because life is already hectic, right? So that was the first thing I did. I removed myself from the situation like in its entirety. Like I'm not saying that I'm never going to speak to my mom again, but it's going to be like a really long time. Like I don't even want to be in her presence. I don't want to visit her. I don't want to talk to her. I don't want to be bothered right now. But that's for me. That's also part of my healing, right? So another thing is just that I am getting back to the things that I haven't been able to do, like my podcasting and my acting and just, being more involved with my daughter and, you know, making sure everything's good with my son. Like I'm healing through my work, basically. Right? Work it's healing for me, right? But also being able to just come home and just be alone. Because there's sometimes I come home and like when I don't have my daughter, like I sit and I watch TV or I read or I take a shower and I just reflect. I think about the days. I think about, you know, what can I do different or how can I plan this? Like I have more clarity, like and in those months where everything was just like when I tell you it was like chaos. It was chaos. It was chaos. Like everything was crumbling. I had surgery during this time. Remember, I told you that's why we couldn't have our meeting last. So as I was going through surgery, recovery, like, you know, being broke and like just dealing with everything, it was just like, wow, like I'm finally able to walk through my doors and feel peace because peace is one of the things you can't put a price on that
Y
ever.
yeah, 100%. Let me ask you this because I know that a lot of people think that healing and this is from, with your journey and how you're going about it, because I don't think there's no right or wrong with everybody's journey and how they heal.
No, absolutely.
But some people are like, "Okay, when I'm healing, does that mean, like, I ignore, like, that wound that I had or that experience?" Like, how do you navigate through that? Like, how do you navigate in, "I'm going on this journey, I'm gonna heal myself," but then you're not speaking to your mom, she's in that arena. Like, do you separate it? Do you say, "I'll get to that at another time and think about that later?" Like, how do you navigate through that?
So I think you have to really like know yourself and know your triggers, right? So I have been around her, since this has happened, but it's only because my dad was still here. So I did have to go visit and I was in her presence. But I set my boundaries like really, you got to set the boundary really like strong, right? So I would go in, I would, say hello because I'm not a rude person, obviously. Um, and I would just be like, "Hey, how are you?" Keep it very short, keep it very sweet, and just kind of like move around it. We did try to have like a meeting about how things were going in our relationship, a family meeting, but that turned into a whole disaster anyway. And at that point, I really figured out that she's just not going to change. There's nothing that I can say or do that's going to make my mom change. at all. So I have to make the changes. So navigating through it is just like just really accepting the fact that we can't have a relationship. Now, relationship, right? Can we? Can we not? It's not going to ever be how it was before because we did have an okay, semi okay relationship. But it's just she's my mom and that's just pretty much it. I accepted that she's never going to change. I moved out and I that's how I navigate through it. Like I know that she's there, she exists. Um and I just have to continue to live my life.
That's how some people are like that's what they have to do. They have to remove themselves
Right.
from that situation. And then I think that also boundaries is so hard with family. And I say this to so many people. Like you think boundaries is hard at work or with friends. Girl, try boundaries with your family because they
Mm,
are offended by it. It's your family. I don't get it. I don't understand.
right.
It's so freaking hard to
Very.
stand with your boundaries.
Right.
But I wanna say that again, it's okay to do it the way it's working for you because right
Right.
now that is what's working right now for you, and that is what you need right now.
Right.
Um, who knows what's gonna happen in the future. I love that you said that, "Hey, I know she's never gonna change," and I love also how you said, "I gotta make the change," because I think that's like a big problem sometimes, and that's when you're like this because
Right.
you're trying to get that other person to think it and see it that way. That person at 70 some years old, they ain't never
Mm-mm.
gonna not
Mm-mm.
thinking that way, right?
Mm-mm. No, because at your core, and I think that that's just people can change, right? But at your core, you are who you are. And that's why
Mm,
that saying is like when someone shows you who they really are, like believe it. Because
mhm,
really, like at your core, you are who you are. And trying to make someone see it your way is really hard, especially if they're not if they're not willing to, right? So you
right.
just have to come to a point where, hey, we're both existing in this world, right? And it's not about ignoring, but I'm gonna exist over here on my
Right.
end and you stay over there and you exist over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, Tanya, we're gonna do an unfiltered speed round, okay? And it's gonna be the mother wound edition. Okay, we gotta poke fun at this, okay? So, like, don't overthink it. Just pick one or
Nah.
the other, okay? All
Okay.
right. And I think I know what the answer is for this one. Okay. Setting boundaries or staying quiet?
Setting boundaries.
Hells yeah. Okay.
Never staying quiet.
Exactly. Therapy or family silence?
Oh, therapy for sure.
I gotta say, my mother doesn't believe in therapy.
Yeah,
And she
I
will
figured
never
that.
go, and she will never go, and I remember going to therapy, and my therapist was like, "Maybe we should bring your mother in this," and I asked her, she's like, "I don't know. I
Never.
why do you need me for?" It's never gonna happen. Okay, respect your mother, helpful or harmful?
Oh, respect your mother, helpful or harmful?
I mean, you
Ooh,
can you don't
that
you
one.
it
I'm gonna say helpful, right?
okay, yeah,
It could
okay.
be helpful.
Breaking cycles or keeping traditions?
Breaking cycles. We're gonna break all those cycles. We breaking all the cycles moving forward. Just so you know.
Okay, protect your peace or keep the peace?
Protect your peace at all costs.
100%. Okay. Healing or pretending everything is fine?
Healing. We healing.
Yeah. I mean, how many people are pretending, right?
Right.
Truth or loyalty?
Oh. mm, That one's I would say truth.
Distance or resentment?
Distance, because I don't ever want to be resentful.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
Tanya, thank you so much for talking about this. And, once again, I commend you to be honest and raw about this topic because it's not easy. It is our moms. And the it's probably one of the most difficult relationships that we have as women is the relationship with our mother. And the fact that you are doing the healing, you are doing the work so that you can be a better mom for your kids. So let me ask you this one question. How do you want your kids to see you?
I just always want my kids to be proud of me. Like, I want them to be proud, and I want them to always know that no matter what, I love them. And I'm gonna love them to the day I die, and we'll make mistakes, you know, along the way, but I just wanna make them proud, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, where can we find you? Because you got a podcast, you're blowing it up, you got
Yes,
stuff
and I'm
going on.
coming
What?
back. I got a mini series that I'm working on, and I'm trying to do so much. Notorious Moms with a Z at the end on all platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Notorious, MOMZ.
Yes, listen to it, watch her. All those will be, the links will all be on the podcast episode. Okay, so before you go, make sure you're subscribed to Mom's My Emergency Contact
Yes.
wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on Apple, Spotify, and all major platforms. If you'd rather watch the conversation, head over to our YouTube channel. Just search Mom's My Emergency Contact and hit subscribe. And if you want bonus content, because Tanya and I are going to talk a little bit more afterwards. The behind the scene notes and updates you won't always hear on the pod, come hang out with us on Substack. After Hours link is in the notes for you to subscribe to. Again, everything is in the episode notes. All right. So conversations like this can be uncomfortable. They're also incredibly important, though. The mother wound isn't always about pointing fingers or rewriting the past. And if you notice, Tanya never talked about rewriting the past. She's holding her truth. She's talking about it. And it's about recognizing how our earliest relationships shape the way we see ourselves, our boundaries, and our place in the world. For many women, especially in cultures where family loyalty runs deep, healing can feel complicated. But understanding those patterns can also be the first step towards compassion, growth, and breaking cycles. So, to my guest, Tanya, thank you so much for being open and vulnerable and for sharing your perspective with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
I know this was good. Thank you so much. Okay. Until next time, everyone. Bye.